We acknowledge the First Nations peoples of this land, the traditional custodians, and pay our respects to their elders past, present and future. We recognise the ongoing impacts of colonisation and the importance of a voice to Parliament to ensure the sovereignty and self-determination of First Nation peoples is respected and upheld. We commit to working together towards a just and equitable future for all Australians.
Hi, I'm Keely, and it's Tuesday, the 30th of May, 2023.
And I'm Wentz.
And you are listening to The New Blurt.
I can't take it anymore!
Good afternoon, good evening, good day, and good morning, Blurtstars, wherever you are around the world. You are listening to The New Blurt.
You absolutely are listening to The New Blurt. Good evening to you, or good afternoon, or good day, wherever you may be listening. Tonight I'm coming to you from Wurundjeri country, Kulin Nation of the Woiwurrung people. Sovereignty was never ceded, always has been and always will be Aboriginal land.
And I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I live and work, the Yagara and Turrbal peoples. Sovereignty was never ceded.
Good evening, Wency. How are you going, my friend?
Not too bad, young sir. Yeah, bit warmer today.
Oh, yes, I noticed you've just got the T-shirt on. But
T-shirt on. Cranked up the heater in the room, so that way I'm not cold.
You should have been down here. We were generating our own heat. We're getting plates to rub together to form an earthquake. So,
yeah. Yes, I did hear about the little tremor that you had on Sunday night.
Yes, it was a Sunday night. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it was Sunday night because I was watching the Formula One Monaco race. So,
right.
Not that I felt it, but my sister told me.
Sorry, what was that? What? No, I missed that. Sorry.
I was just saying that it's not that I felt it, but I heard about it because my sister messaged me while I was trying to watch the Formula One. So that's how I knew about it.
Oh, right. That must have been upsetting for you. Did you sort of go, wow, and then straight back to your Formula One, or?
Yeah, pretty much. Anything damaged?
You know what I mean?
No. Okay, move on.
It wasn't particularly scary down here. I mean, I slept through it, so I didn't even know that we had one until I thought I dreamt something, which was I thought that I dreamt India coming in and being upset, etc., etc. And I thought, oh, that's a weird ass dream or whatever. And then Ness sort of trying to deal with it all, and I was like, no. I woke up in the morning and Ness said, "Did you know we had an earthquake?" And I was like, "You what?" I said, "Oh, right, okay." So now I understand what's going on. But
must have been talk of the town.
Yeah, I suppose it was a little bit of talk of the town, but yeah, it's no big deal. No, there was no damage apparently. There wasn't any.
Was there any damage to Betty's Burgers on Chapel Street?
A reference to last time when we had a pretty serious earthquake. That was a 6, so that was pretty serious. But still, only one building went down.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting in itself. But this one was in Sunbury, 3 kilometres down, and apparently it was felt as far south as Hobart.
Oh wow! I did not know that.
Yeah, and it was felt in Hawthorn too. I didn't think Hawthorn would be, I thought they'd be too elite to get an earthquake, but there you go. So sometimes it happens to the best of us.
Yes, happens to the privileged.
Actually, absolutely, and talking about happening to the best of us, your 95-year-old friend didn't do too well.
No, sadly to say, 95-year-old lady grandma who got tasered by New South Wales police, lost a battle for her life last week. We did talk about her on the show last week, and we were hoping she was going to pull through, but sadly she did not make it. So valet to her, and yeah, not a good outcome.
No, it's not a good outcome at all. I hope they do some investigation and check out the education programs on how to deal with dementia, etc. Because that was a horrible situation.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how much longer she had, but depending on how bad her dementia was, it's probably not the worst thing to happen, because really bad dementia is pretty terrible. I mean, I was talking about my father-in-law, I think a week or so ago, regarding dementia, but my other half's grandma had it as well, and I remember being around, and she had to be looked after all the time because she'd just leave the kettle on all the time, and she'd leave the stove on, and she'd leave pans on the stove, and all these sort of things, and just too easy to hurt yourself, kill yourself, whatever. So not brilliant. But you did have some show and tell, I believe.
I did,
regarding a mobile phone in India.
Yeah. How far would you go to retrieve your lost phone? One Indian official, who's a food inspector, was out picnicking at a dam and taking selfie, and brand new Samsung Galaxy 23 Ultra, so the big expensive one.
Okay, so this is in India, yeah?
This is in India. And,
wow, so this guy's got some coin then.
Yeah, he must, because it wouldn't be cheap over there.
No.
So he's taking his selfie, and the phone ended up in the dam. And what did he do? Did he cut his losses? No. He decided to.
Did he? Oh, he decided to get. No. He decided. I imagine he decided to get really poor people to dive in there for him and swim through the crap and get his phone. I bet you he did try to do that.
He did, but that wasn't successful. So what was step 2?
Didn't work.
No,
right, okay.
No. So step 2 was.
What could you do? I mean, how many million liters or whatever? 2 million liters of water. What could you possibly do if the poor people couldn't, get your phone out?
Exactly. Let's find out what happened. Let's have a look how he did it.
To retrieve his lost phone has led to his suspension in Chhattisgarh. 32-year-old Rajesh Vishwas, stationed in Chhattisgarh's Kanker district, was suspended from duty after draining approximately 21 lakh liters of water from a reservoir in search of his recently purchased phone, which was worth 95,000 rupees. The incident took place at Paralkot Reservoir in Pakhanjur, where Vishwas had gone for a picnic with his friends. While attempting to capture a selfie, his phone accidentally slipped from his grasp and plunged into the reservoir. Local villagers volunteered to search the 10-foot deep reservoir for the lost device. Right. Vishwas said that the villagers approached him with the idea of partially draining the water so that they could recover his phone. Oral permission was granted by the SDO. Vishwas then rented a diesel pump for Rs 7,500 and commenced the water extraction process, removing approximately 3 feet of water over the course of 2 days. Dr. Priyanka Shukla, the Kanker collector, subsequently suspended him from duty.
How big are your cojones to even think about doing that?
I know. He must have a bit of clout in the local council there.
I mean, that's just. I mean, I have no words for that. It's just so selfish. It's just so completely self-absorbed,
isn't he?
Oh my goodness gracious, that was an interesting one though. Talking about interesting, behind us, my friend, National Reconciliation Week, 27th of May, 3rd of June.
It is.
And
Reconciliation Week, that's right. All this week.
It is indeed. And the theme for this week is to keep up momentum for change. It's a theme for National Reconciliation Week, to be the voice of generations, as it says. The theme encourages all Australians to be a voice for reconciliation in tangible ways in our everyday lives where we live, work and socialise. For the work of generations past and the benefit of generations future, act today for more just, equitable and reconciled country for all. Here. Totally agree with that.
Exactly.
So,
and it's obviously a big year this year, and hence why they'll probably use the word voice in their theme. And
absolutely.
Let's hope that gets through this year.
Well, that sort of ties in quite well because our magnificent live guest tonight, who will be coming up soon, Dan Ilic. Is it Ilic or Ilic?
I'd say it'll be Ilic.
It is Ilic. I think it's Ilic.
We'll have to ask him.
Anyway.
I'm sure we may have asked him.
I've got this wrong before, but anyway, he'll be on our Green There, Done That segment, and he'll have a chat to us all about what's happening in the climate space, but not just the climate space. The little birdie told me that I believe he is helping in the Yes campaign space as well, so we can have a chat to him.
I'm curious about that.
We can have a chat to him about that as well. So that should be good. That should be good. Now, the other thing I did want to mention is tonight after Green There, Done That, we'll talk about great people that did stuff. I must admit, I think I didn't talk about the rundown at the start of the show, so we might as sort of do it through the show. And we're going to talk about Tina Turner and Rolf Harris. And I know that Rolf Harris is a particularly controversial figure. I absolutely get that. And we can talk about that controversy as well. But he was someone that made an impact, not just for the worst reasons, but he actually did make an impact for good ones as well. So something that I am trying to subscribe to going forwards more and more in this more and more divisive world that we seem to be living in is I'm doing my best, and I'm just starting on this journey, and the journey is to be able to articulate arguments with people that maybe have a complete adverse opinion, so much so that it might almost make me angry because of what they actually believe in. But I think the only way we can go forwards, especially like Voice for Generations, I mean, and I suppose even our show, our show is quite a progressive show, but there's no point us just yelling into an echo chamber. We've got to try to reach people that don't agree with us.
Exactly.
On certain topics and subjects, etc. So that's something that I've sort of been wrangling with at the moment, and it sort of ties in because I'm reading Stan Grant's. I've just started his latest book, and he sort of lulls you into a false sense of security early, and then 2 pages in, it just goes bang, and you're into it, and it's I don't.
So he rips the Band-Aid off real quick, does he?
Oh yes, he does. Yes, he does, and I don't like to say it's a tough read because what himself and his family and his generation, etc., have gone through is far tougher than reading the book he actually had to write because of what actually happened. But it's a pretty fascinating read, especially how it's written. And the interesting thing is, I was talking to Ness about this last night. The interesting thing is that when I read it, I feel like Stan is reading it to me.
Yeah, right.
And
interesting.
I can hear his voice reading the words, and it gives it even more poignancy. So it's really, really interesting. But no, it seems to be, well, I'm sure it will be a fantastic book.
Good
it's
read.
Interesting because, absolutely. Because the other half is reading a book called Sand Talk at the moment, and that's got very much an Indigenous flavour as well, as a want of a better word. So we're both reading things in slightly different areas, but with an Indigenous sort of theme as such, which is pretty good considering it's National Reconciliation Week, and obviously we promoted the Yes campaign. Now we just spoke about our illustrious guest Dan Ilic, so we will now bring him in on our segment Green There, Done That.
against it. But these fires are certainly not a function of climate change. They're just a function of life in Australia.
Why would a scientist want to change people's vote? I mean, this is you saw the spin over the past week as they drip fed.
A poll that came out last month, which found 1 in 4 Americans is skeptical of the effects of climate change. Thinks this issue's been exaggerated.
It's You're listening to Green Dad Done That on the new Blurt with Wency and the Keks.
Good evening, Dan.
G'day, how are you, fellas? Good to be with you.
Glad to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. It's always good to be back. It's good to be somewhere. It's always good to be somewhere.
I see you've taken over the CEO role of Qantas.
Well, someone has to, don't they? I mean, podcasts don't make themselves, so
That's right.
I've got to fund the show somehow.
Can we get some cheap tickets or free tickets, please, then?
Let me think about that. I'll forward you to my chief of operations officer, and they'll deal with that request. It's not more of it's not a me question. It's not a me question. Great story out of Korea this week where a guy who had just been made redundant from the cops was suffering a bit of PTSD, a bit of stress, and he got up and as the plane was landing in South Korea, opened the emergency door, and the whole back of the plane was treated to gusts of wind as the plane was landing. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's, if you're feeling anxious and trapped on a plane, just get out. At any height. He said to the cops that he was feeling suffocated, and I'm like, I appreciate it. I understand where you're coming from. If you need to get out, just get out, because no one wants you there. No one wants someone down in the dumps on their flight. If you're feeling a bit off, just get out at any point. Yeah, treat it the same way as my dad used to treat me when he took us on car rides. If you don't like it, I can leave you off here, and you can walk home from here. Yeah.
I do that to my kids now, even though they're late teens. They still do it.
How do they go? How do they cope with it?
They just be quiet or start behaving. Either way, it works. It still works.
There you go. Well, it's parenting tricks for the ages. That's what's going on.
Exactly.
So, Dan, since we saw you last, I think you've pretty much been all over the east coast, I believe. You've been right up to Brisbane, obviously down in Melbourne with the ComFest, in all the different states. How did it all go in the end, doing Irrational Fear?
Great. Look, great shows. Brisbane was really fun. Adelaide was great, and then Melbourne was really good. Melbourne was a great show. We had a great time. So it was, look, we lost a lot of money in Adelaide.
Oh, really?
But we almost made that money up in Melbourne. Almost made that money up in Melbourne. But Brisbane was a very profitable show, so it was fine. It was absolutely fine.
I really wanted to go to the Brisbane, but had some work that night, so I couldn't really attend, which was a shame.
That's okay. It was a great show. It was really, really fun. 90 minutes of doing comedy about science and climate change and gas. And it was just great fun. It was really interesting. The people at the World Science Week were like, it's amazing. When we booked this show, we didn't know if you could do a comedy show about science for 90 minutes, but it was pretty good. So they really liked it. So hopefully we'll get booked again for next year.
Yeah. Did you tell them, have you ever listened to Irrational Fear?
Well, they definitely knew of the show. They definitely did their homework. I think somebody in their office is a listener, and so anytime we would forward promote the show, they would tell them. They would go, "Oh, Dan's given us another plug. Yes, that's great."
I heard that pod. That's actually it's right up there in the echelon of your Irrational Fear shows. That particular one. The guests were magnificent. I think you had someone on. Yeah, I think you had someone that was discovering planets. Is that right?
Yeah, we had a person who runs the exoplanet library at NASA. So that's
good get.
That's good. We got some pretty good guests. Yeah.
Now, also, I remember, I don't know if it's the same show, but I was listening and reading, catching up on gossip as it were, and I believe that were you MC at Russell Crowe's? You had some sort of gig. Are you allowed to talk about it publicly?
Yeah, I mean, Russell's touring the country, so he's got gigs everywhere. But he invited me to MC a couple of shows, and he said, "Oh, just pick some dates, and whatever dates you can do, come and do them." And I said, "Well, I'll do the Sydney dates because I'll be in Sydney." And I initially couldn't do the ones coming up now because I was due to have surgery, but I caught. That surgery has been pushed back to September because at Russell's gig, I think I caught COVID. So my surgery has been pushed way back. Wow. But it's great. No, I emceed a couple of gigs at the Bridge Hotel in Sydney for Russell. It was great. He pulled some incredible acts, like a couple of Irish acts I'd never heard of before. They were fantastic. A cool young band from Maroubra got up and did some stuff. They're really great. And then Russell and his band were really wonderful too. So it was really great to meet the great man, have a little chat with him, and do some old jokes in front of a new audience, and do some Russell bespoke gear as well, which is also fun. So yeah, that was really, really weird. I'm pretty sure I caught COVID smoking a spliff with RZA backstage. That's what that's the story I'm going with. RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan turned up. And some shenanigans happened upstairs. I'm pretty sure there were too many people to have a COVID safe after party upstairs, and I'm pretty sure that's how I got it.
Well, if you got it that way, that is a fantastic story to tell your kids in years to come.
Yeah, Russell who?
I remember COVID though. You never stop banging on about it, Dad.
It was COVID. Oh, you said we always talk about how COVID was bad. Yeah, but what about the AI wars of 2043? Completely
exactly.
Blew up our whole town. Yeah, you talk about COVID.
I would have thought the AI wars would be like 2028 or 30, even sooner. I reckon they'll be taking over the world pretty soon.
You're probably right. Yeah.
One of the things I was curious about. Do you enjoy doing live gigs, or do you prefer like that emceeing and comedy, or do you prefer doing podcasting?
I love the live stuff. Like it's best. I love it. It's great. It's great fun. You came to our Melbourne show. You had a good time, didn't you?
Yeah, it was good. It was really good.
Yeah, I try to build like a really fun environment for the audience, and something about live is so special because you can see the audience in the eye, you can pull them all together, emceeing live is a really fun experience. And I don't mind, some people hate the MC job. I love the MC job because you get to build the night. You're like the captain of the ship, and you're kind of shepherding people through an experience. You're letting them know what's coming up. You're making them feel good, making the audience hopefully participate in a way that is great for the other performers. So I love it. It's really great. Like it's a real fun experience. And when we do Irrational Fear, I always try and build the shows in a way that is similar. Like it can start strong, has good bits, has a serious bit, and it can end strong, and then make people feel really good at the end, and leave people. If you can leave people on a high and make them feel good at the end of the show, and as they leave, they say, "Gee, that was a good show," then that's a good job done. So there's a bit of art, there's a bit of a dark art to creating those kind of environments, and I've been doing it for years, so it's a real joy. It's a real joy. And speaking of AI, I was having this conversation with Rupert Degas today, who does a lot of the voiceovers on our show. And I said, that emceeing live is a real skill that AI won't be able to replicate anytime soon.
No. Have you used ChatGPT for some of the material just to get you started?
Let me tell you. I use ChatGPT all the time now. It's an indispensable part of my workflow. And mainly, particularly if I'm doing corporate work and I don't use any brain space to think of actual jokes that will get rejected. So ChatGPT gives you a list of wonderful jokes that are completely safe, that no brand will ever we'll let it say fuck off too. So yeah, it's great. Yeah. So yes, I use ChatGPT. Yeah.
Excellent. We're a big user on it here sometimes too. When I remember, at least I try to.
Of course.
But even for work, I know Kexter uses it for his work, and because we both work in IT, so I know it's definitely really advantageous for that.
Oh, right. Do you guys have automated responses like on the text line? Do you use ChatGPT to say, press the any key?
Where's that?
Have you tried restarting? Is it plugged in?
We've said that about this show quite a few times, I'll tell you. The tech we've been having the last few weeks, oh my God. I don't know if
Bloody
the internet's
NBN.
just getting worse or everyone's using ChatGPT. That's probably what it is.
Could be.
But,
could be.
One thing I did want to ask, I think just recently you produced a video for Megan Davis for the Yes campaign. How did they come to you, or like, do you know people in the campaign? Are you part of the campaign?
No, I'm not part of the campaign, but that is a great piece that I've made for UNSW Centre for Ideas. It's called 10-Minute Genius. Over the last couple of years, I've made 2 series of this show where the UNSW's superstar academics boil down an idea, a complex idea, in under 10 minutes. And the idea is you learn something from a genius in under 10 minutes. So I kind of created this show for them and shot and produced and directed so many of these kind of wonderful clips that are all online on YouTube with superstar academics. Megan Davis is just one of them. So Megan, we went back and forth with her office trying to get her in a studio in Sydney. We just couldn't kind of do it, and we ended up shooting in a garage in Brisbane on a green screen, and we didn't even have an auto cue for her, and she just riffed this incredible, eloquent piece on The Voice and Treaty that sold me, and it's the most. All the others are completely overproduced, but this one was the most underproduced video. But because Megan is such a star, it has the most traction. And if ever you are confused or want to kind of know more about The Voice in a really specific way, that video is a really good example of something to watch. This Megan Davis video. If you search for Megan Davis 10-Minute Genius, you'll come across it, and it's well worth your time. It's well worth the 8 minutes, I think, to have a listen and kind of distill what The Voice is all about.
We'll have to put that in our show notes for next week for this podcast. So
yeah, do it. It's great. It's wonderful. It's quite moving as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, you go. No, you go first.
I was just going to say, are you winning? Is the climate winning yet? Are you winning yet? Is Albo being the saviour? I'm assuming all these answers are no, but I thought I'd ask.
I think you'll find, Kexter, I think you'll find that since Albo got in, climate change no longer exists. Certainly in Albo's mind, it no longer exists. No, we're not winning. No, it's all... unfortunately, the major parties are still in power, and as many people who listen to this podcast and listen to my podcast know that the major parties are beholden to the fossil fuel industry, and of course, the fossil fuel industry are still very much having their way. I was just
donations. Got to stop that.
I was just looking at some old. I'm going to be recording a couple of videos for the Irrational Fear feed tomorrow. And I was looking at the old script for the Secrecy show we did at Festival of Dangerous Ideas last year, which was such a great show as well. And it got down to the point where we're talking about Witness J. And Witness J blew the whistle on... Witness J, we don't know why Witness J is in jail. Witness K blew the whistle on the East Timorese gas deal, which got torn up in 2004 at The Hague. And so they blew the whistle. The thing happened in 2004. It went all the way to The Hague. The deal got torn up, and then it got renegotiated. But it wasn't until 2014, when Morrison was in power, that Witness K actually went to trial, and the whole thing was done in secret, like a decade later. So if ever you were wondering just how much power the fossil fuel companies have in this country. That is a really prime example that as soon as the sympathetic government is in power, they're not willing. They're quite willing to use all of Australia's secrecy laws to bust people who upset them when they're trying to negotiate a deal using spy tactics. So yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. So yeah, we are beholden to the fossil fuel industry. They're still in power, and they could be for another 2 years until we can upset Labor's minority and put some green and or climate independence in.
Yeah, totally agree with that, and hopefully that happens.
Absolutely.
It's kind of a weird period right now where it's hard to kind of get angry or motivated about it because it's still 2 years to go.
So your thoughts on the Teals, Dan? How do you think they're doing in there at the moment? I mean, we obviously so many people voted for them over the Liberal candidates at the time. Mainly, that's who they replaced. Are they sort of down
they're using their power really well. They've managed to kind of get a lot of concessions on things. They've managed to get better legislation. They've managed to pump up climate legislation where it hasn't been. They managed to really go into bat for job seeker increases. So there's so much power that they have there, and when they're all speaking, not all of them are aligned on the same things, like the tax cuts and stuff like that. I know a few of them aren't aligned on that. But when they're
I haven't heard them say a lot about that.
Well, certainly in my electorate, Allegra Spender isn't against the tax cuts. So there's really, I think it's such a really interesting mix in the parliament, and what's interesting is that they've single-handedly, well, with the 6 new ones, they've brought gender parity to the there's now more women than men in Parliament, which is amazing. So anyway, I think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and not just the Teals independents, but I think David Pocock has also done quite amazing things.
Oh yeah, David.
In the last few months,
such a great voice to have, particularly when it comes to poor people, climate. And really sensible policy. Like he's the guy in the Senate that's calling bullshit on a lot of stuff. He's probably the hardest working senator because he has to.
And he does it in a calm voice as well. He doesn't rely on outspeaking or talking over other people. He just says it in a nice, calm way because that's the way he's like.
That's who he is. David Pocock is a very boring personality.
But he gets the job done.
Very big hand.
Yes, very big hands. Very true. Very true. I reckon he'd be my favourite minister, though. Anytime you hear him speak on, I mean, he's a little bit monotone, but anytime you hear him speak on any sort of panel program,
David Pocock is very good. One thing about Pocock is that he does his homework, and he has to because he's an independent. And so, if you're not an independent, you don't have to work as hard as the independents, that's for sure. You don't have to be across the detail and everything, but David's across it. He does the work, so he can be a voice and call out bullshit when it's bullshit. It's great.
You're talking about your Melbourne show before, and I remember in that show, I think you gave away a sign. Tim Smith, in front of Tim Smith, is that right?
We didn't give away a sign. We auctioned it off for charity.
Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah. So it was a piece of fence that there was a MP in Victoria, Tim Smith. He drove drunk through a fence, and spent a lot of time kind of obfuscating the fact he did it, which he very much did. He kind of took his time resigning. After a lot of pressure, he resigned. And it was this kind of big scandal in Victoria. And the owners of the house which Tim Smith crashed into, put up this temporary fence from Bunnings, and someone went along and hand drew the word Chappaquiddick across the fence, echoing the the infamous moment when Ted Kennedy got away with murder in Martha's Vineyard. It was a whole big scandal there. So this is like, it was clearly a different bad taste joke on at a very different scale. No one died in this. The guy who drove to the fence drunk.
But someone knows their history.
Yeah, so yeah, it's pretty interesting. Anyway, so the owners of the fence reached out and they said, "Hey, we want to do something with this fence, but we want to auction it off for charity, but we don't know how." And I was like, "Well, I've got a show that needs 15 minutes to film. I've got a great idea of how to do it. I'll get the fence, get the Chappaquiddy bit framed, and shoot it in a beautiful way." My friend Brett in Melbourne went over to their house and did all the work for me, shot this beautiful sign, sent me the footage. I cut it up into this ad and wrote this sketch like the Franklin Mint to sell this sign. And it was a great sketch that I thought was really, really funny. And I voiced it. And then I was like, you know what? This voice could be better. And the only person to make this better would be Tony Martin. So I emailed Tony Martin and I asked Tony Martin if he could voice it. And he said, "I hate Tim Smith. It would be my honor."
I can imagine Tony saying that too.
Well, Tony was one of the people that was always tweeting for Tim Smith to resign. So it was a real kind of nice synchronous moment where Tony lent his voice to the sketch. We published the sketch, and we launched the eBay campaign with the sketch and everything on that night that you came Kegstar, and that night I think it was on the Channel 9 News on the 6 o'clock bulletin, which was amazing. Right.
Nice.
So that was really, really wild that happened.
And what was the charity, and how much was it in the end that it was bought for?
The charity was the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre, and we raised $3,700. So
that's fantastic.
That's great.
Pretty good, yeah. Pretty good for a just a real funny joke. So yeah, sometimes comedy can do good too.
Yes. Quite often it can't it? Speaking of comedy, I was listening to you on Monga Bay podcast.
Oh wow!
The other day. Yeah, I just came across it and I just thought, I'll give it a listen, and realised you were on it. But you mentioned in there that, and we don't care if this is said here on our podcast, but you can't say fuck to Americans. Why is that?
Well, that was bleeped out. You can't say cunt to Americans.
Is that the word? I thought it was the fuck word. Right, okay. We don't bleep that stuff.
Fuck is fine, but yeah, I can't say the C word. No, they hate the C word. And I just did it because he was sitting here, and it was very fun.
Yeah, he's a recent Australian, is he? American, but
he's new. He's moved here. Yeah, he's. I think his wife got a job at University of New South Wales or University of Sydney, and so he got to come out with her. And
I might have to listen to that podcast. We do reviews of other people's podcasts, so yeah, might have to listen to that.
Oh my goodness, how scary!
Yeah, it is. Yes, we're very critical here. Although we've never reviewed a bad one, have we?
5 stars, everything.
5 stars. Everyone's 5 stars, pretty much. Otherwise, why would we listen to it?
Exactly.
So, Dan, what's next? You're a busy man. What's next?
I don't know. Just taking a bit of a break because I thought I was going to have surgery.
I remember.
And I got to move house. So
that's never fun.
Hopefully, we'll be back on the podcast June 8. So I've I took May off because I was so exhausted from all of the touring. Yeah. And
COVID.
Oh, and COVID last week. Yep. So
is that first time COVID or
what's that?
Is that first time COVID or
it's my second time COVID? Yep. Second. Yeah. I've got 5 vaxxers in me, but I still got COVID. So yeah, I don't know. We've got our 1,000th episode coming up in September. So I'm trying to either do a big live show in Sydney for it or do a a big live show on the Torres on Thursday Island in the Torres Strait.
Oh,
So
that's
we want to get Yessie Mosby and a couple other folks who've done the show before, lots of First Nations folks, and kind of do a big kind of First Nations, have all the First Nations guests and do a show about the voice and climate change.
You did say millionth episode.
Sorry, millionth download. Millionth.
Yeah,
download.
that makes more sense.
Jeez, have you been around that long that you've made 1 million episodes?
Well, you know, if you're on the ABC or you're on Listener, you kind of get 1 million downloads in like 6 months or something. But it's taken us 10 years to get 1 million downloads.
Look, it's not bad until you start comparing. That's
true.
when it gets bad.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
I think you compare yourself to Michelle Laurie, I believe it was. And that's
Michelle Laurie got that. Michelle Laurie put a post up saying, "I don't know what this means, but 64 million, is that a lot?" No, shut up, Michelle. All right, mate, whatever. Go fuck yourself. I love Michelle. She's a friend of mine. It's okay.
No, I do absolutely realize that. But that's what commercial, I mean, when you can get into the commercial side of things, that's what it does for you, basically. You can get that notoriety.
Yeah, it turns out a show about climate change isn't exactly a popular category.
No, maybe not, but hopefully you sleep better.
I do, yeah. And look, it pays the bills, and it's really fun. Like, we get to talk with great people like yourselves.
Yeah, and others. Yeah. No, it's a good show.
It's interesting. My other half's doing a what they call a Masters of Business Empathy at the moment. I don't know if you've heard of that course at all, Dan. But it's all about leaders of the future, and it has a huge climate change angle. So much so that Richie Merzian is in the course.
Oh wow! Richie, great. I was meant to see him on Saturday night, but I had COVID.
Oh, you can chat to him about it next time you talk to him. But
where's your partner doing that course through? Who's the
the company's called Small Giants.
Okay.
And well, they're I think they're backed by the Liebermans in Melbourne.
Okay, great.
Which is and they have like a philanthropic arm, as it were.
Okay.
And so that's what they've been putting their time into, etc. And I mean, all I was trying to say was that the ethical sort of stances that you're taking, obviously we need to. And just seeing Bob Brown's latest movie. Have you seen his latest one, The Giants?
I haven't. No, this is about the Franklin.
Yeah, it's pretty sensational, actually. I think. I mean, obviously, it's sad as well, but it's about Bob and how he became a protester and how he still is one at 70. Because you call yourself an activist. If you've gone out there, obviously, and actively protested, not just billboards, etc., but you've physically gone out there, have you?
I don't call myself an activist, but other people are happy to throw that label upon me.
They do, don't they? With wild abandon. I've heard it many times.
That's it. Yeah, I don't call myself, but that's what other people do. Other people call me that. Yep. No. But you can't stop what people. You can't bloody change what people want to call you. So
true.
National Reconciliation Week. Is there anything you're following on that this week? With the National Fear coming up, or
no, haven't got a show, so yeah, we're kind of nothing planned. But I'm sorry if that helps. Does that help?
No. We only just remembered this week that it was National Reconciliation Week. So,
we've had with a Rational Fear, we've got something nice which is tied to the Patreon. So we pay the rent with our Patreon, and any kind of money we receive, big chunks of money, we do like a 5% fee from Patreon to First Nations groups, we pay the rent to Seed Mob and Indigenous X. So we take that 5% and distribute amongst those groups. So we kind of have it in our system. So it's kind of like a week, and we try to platform lots of Aboriginal voices as well. We had Craig Quartermain on a couple of weeks ago, and other folks throughout the week. My mum sent me a text. I sent it to Craig because I thought it was very funny. My mum sent me a text saying, just listened to May 15's Irrational Fear, looked up Craig Quartermain for my own comedy education. Seems like a, quote, nice, end quote, fellow like you, heart emoji. And I was like, and I had to call Mum. I was like, Mum, what did you mean by nice? She's like, oh, he just seems nice. Seems like a nice young man like you. So I sent it to Craig. I said, I checked with Mum. She didn't mean to put nice in quotation marks. And Craig Quartermain replied with like 5 laughing emojis. He said, it should be seems in quotation marks.
Because that makes it better. It's like when you say, yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. Exactly. It's great. So I hope for National Reconciliation Week, we're not doing anything specific this week, but we've got these inbuilt systems that, we do pay the rent, but also heading into The Voice, want to platform lots of Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Islander people, First Nations folks, as we head into October, which is going to be crunch month for The Voice.
Yeah, and that's interesting in itself, because I thought it was actually meant to be done in August, so it looks like it's been delayed then.
I think they just needed a bit more time to ramp up. So yeah, August is pretty soon, but I think October's good.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Look, Dan, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
No worries.
And we will see you probably in 25 episodes time, maybe.
Have you booked me in every 25 episodes? Is this what happens?
I can put a repeat booking in, yes, I can do that.
Great. How many episodes? You're up to 100 and something now, aren't you?
125 now.
Oh my God, you're gonna lap Irrational Fear. You're gonna be that many episodes in.
Yes, but we're not lapping the downloads. So
yeah. Still need to add a few more zeros to ours, but we'll get there.
We do.
Look, feel free to take a month off, like I've just done. It's really good for your mental health.
I can imagine that totally. Again, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Good to be with you. Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Bye. Well, that was a bit of fun. Always is.
Yeah, always fun with Dan.
We will be back in a minute.
Did you know a single blood donation could save up to 3 lives? Be the lifeblood of Australia. Join us and search Give Blood to book your donation with Australian Red Cross Lifeblood today. Give life. Give blood.
That would be a good thing to do. That would be a very much a philanthropic thing to do to help your community as well.
Or plasma if you're Latin American.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
As we learned last week. I think it was last week.
We did indeed. Hey, I was just thinking about something. We've got our big episode sign up there, Shut the Border, Premium Calls It Quits. We haven't even talked about that yet.
No, we didn't.
Haven't even talked about it. So.
No. So what's that about? Well, I don't know if anyone has been listening to Jimmy Reese, but Shut the Border refers to the West Australian Premier, who just yesterday, I think it was, decided to call it quits in politics. He's had a tough time, and I think the COVID years probably took it out of him as well. So, yeah, it's been big news for those who are following politics here in Australia. I'm not sure if we've still got the Kekstar on the line. He's very much frozen on my side. Can you hear us, Kekstar? I'll take the silence as no. So it looks like I'm on my own at the moment. Luckily, it's good timing actually, because it happened after we had Dan. So it's quite good timing. But yes, so Shut the Border is all about the West
and we're back.
Politics, effective end of this week. So, we've got him back. Here I am filling in.
That's good because I was talking the whole time. I did not realize that you couldn't hear anything.
Couldn't hear a word. Couldn't even hear you talking. Nothing.
That's fantastic. Brilliant. I told you my network was stable down here. I cannot believe that's unbelievable. Dan leaves. Dan is gone, and then I lose the internet completely.
Like I said while you weren't there, it was perfect timing.
It was. It was brilliant timing.
It was
really
great
good timing. So
yes.
You were just talking about Mark McGowan, I assume.
Yes, Mark McGowan, correct, who's called it quits. And I think he's leaving effective end of this week. So
apparently he's leaving with a massive majority and quite a large surplus, I believe. But apparently there's still some problems in Western Australia. And me not being from Western Australia, I don't know exactly what they are.
I don't know. Other than being too far away from the East Coast as being a problem. I don't know what those problems are, but
Exactly right. But that's enough of Mark McGowan. We were just explaining why our title is. We are now up for Great People That Did Stuff. So hang in there, people. We're going to be talking about Tina Turner and the controversial Rolf Harris.
Oh, we need to add your sound bites again because you disappeared.
Yes, that is true. I absolutely did. So
we'll edit this out on the podcast.
Get all
obviously.
that sorted quickly, and then in there, and away we go. And gee whiz. Yeah, no, we don't want that.
Click. That's all I'm hearing. Click,
I'm
click,
just having a 50. We're 52 minutes in, so I'm just making sure I know where we are when I have to edit all of this out.
Yes.
52 minutes in, so that's better. That looks good. Let's try this for Great People That Did Stuff.
To great people that hi and welcome to Great People That Did Stuff.
That's right. Who are we focusing on this week?
I think what we'll do is we'll do Rolf Harris. And first.
Start with the bad and end with the good.
Can we just... Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Can we just drop the name of the show?
Sure can.
Just have the ticker.
Trust British Saints.
Nice.
Sure can.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was very good. That was very good. Sure can. Nice work. Very, very good. Yeah, British Paints, hey? Yeah, see, I grew up with that too.
Same. I know there's so many things that I'd love to be singing right now, like Timey Kangaroo, but you can't.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the way that they start articles about Rolf is, pedophile entertainer.
Yeah.
And that's never a good way to start an article.
No.
I mean, this is the Australia's Daily Telegraph reporting, and I know that telly is terrible, but still, in this case, they're probably pretty much on the money because this sort of crap they're usually pretty good with. Because they
even on the ABC News, it's the same.
Yeah.
The very first paragraph is the family of disgraced former entertainer and convicted pedophile Rolf Harris has revealed he died nearly 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks now, at the age of 93.
Yeah. So yeah, look, absolutely right. And he was jailed for 5 years for 12 indecent assaults on 4 underage girls. And excuse me, in 2017, he was still in jail, and he was put on trial for a second time for more indecent assaults on teenage girls, but the jurors failed to reach a verdict.
Right.
And the other thing about Tiny Kangaroo Downsword as well
Mm.
is I believe that came from an indigenous song.
Oh, right.
That
what I did not know.
isn't, yeah, and he definitely edited the lyrics to come up with Tiny Kangaroo Downsport. There's a bit of a history there. If he was obviously a better person, I would probably go into the history, but I'm not going to do that. I mean, I do not find it hard, i.e. there's no sitting on one side go, oh no, he's a good person, but no, you can't do all those, you can't do that much criminal activity, especially against minors, etc., and still be a good person. But you can have a body of work that actually was very good, and I'm separating the work from the person.
From the person,
and he actually was a good artist. And contrary to the Chaser, I think he was a very good wobble board player. And I remember him doing Stairway to Heaven years ago on
that's right.
a show with Andrew Denton, which was really good.
Yeah.
So, so those sort of things. He had real talent, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just, I'm not even going to use the word shame, but it's pretty terrible how he ended up. But it's interesting because he still says that that the truth hasn't fully come out, et cetera, et cetera. But look, we're never going to know, apart from the fact of him being convicted and so much evidence and blah blah. And I just find it sad that someone who I grew up with and I did revere for a long time and really enjoyed watching, etc., has a side that's just horrible and destroys lives. So that's sad. But anyway, he died at 93 this week. But on better news, Wency, what you got?
Tina Arena.
Not good that she died.
No. Tina Turner, not Tina Arena, because she's still well and truly alive.
Absolutely. Newsflash: Tina Arena is definitely not dead. Anyone
Tina Arena is not dead. Correct.
We did not say that. It is not true.
That is what I read when I first saw Tina Turner. The first Tina that came to mind was Tina Arena. I don't know why.
That would be uproar. That's terrible. I mean, Tina Turner's bad enough, but she was 83, and as you're about to allude to, different things happening. But well, she was the queen of rock and roll.
Obviously, had troubles with her original partner, Ike Turner, I think his name was. He was quite abusive, so she moved on from him back in the day, but she made a big name of herself in the rock and roll industry. Played with the likes of Mick Jagger and other famous people. But she died peacefully after a long illness in Switzerland.
Well, in 1991, she was inducted into the Hall of Fame,
right,
with Ike Turner. And then in, I think it was 2021, she was inducted again as a solo artist.
On her own. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
That would have to be the first time that's ever happened, where someone's gone in twice.
I believe so. And apparently she's the first black woman artist, I believe, ever to be on the cover of Rolling Stone, I believe.
Oh, wow. Nice. Yeah, she did break some ground during her career, which is quite amazing, and great voice. And I still can't forget Thunderdome, and she was in the movie, and she was great.
Well, she was also the face of rugby league for a while with Jimmy Barnes.
Yeah, that's right.
They did that Simply the Best, because I think she did Simply the I don't know. I can't remember if Jimmy Barnes and her did Simply the Best as a duet. That's how it came out, or she did it as a single, and then they did it as a duet for the rugby league. I can't remember.
No, I don't know.
But it was a good song. I was listening to Jimmy Barnes just the other day talking about Tina Turner, actually. And he was just saying, one, how much of an impressive performer she was, but just how much of a beautiful person she was at the same time. And it was quite funny because he was talking about the rugby league, and he was saying that they asked him to sing with Tina, and that he said they paid him an embarrassingly large amount of money. He said, which was very funny, because to sing with Tina Turner, he would have paid them. So, so he was pretty chuffed about that. Just on the Tina Turner. Now, I came across something just the other day that I found quite interesting. Now, you know the dance that comes to mind when you think of Tina Turner is the
private dancer.
No, it's not. You need to get your mind out of the gutter.
Because that was one of her songs.
It was, yes, but we're not talking about prostitutes on this show. The dance was the Nutbush.
Nothing to do with nuts. Yes.
No, Nutbush City Limits. Nutbush City
Tell me
Limits.
more. Tell me more.
I will tell you more. This is not Greece. I will tell you more. Was released 50 years ago, but remains well known to Australians. And the reason that it does is because the song was a little old town in Tennessee. But in 1973, the Nutbush City Limits in her honor, but she didn't create the moves, as far as anyone knows, which is interesting. She never created the dance. So the information that I have about the dance is that apparently there was a dance called the Madison back in the 70s, I believe, an American dance called the Madison. And John Stratton, an adjunct professor at University of South Australia School of Creative Industries, has investigated where that dance came from. And he found that the New South Welsh Education Department, or someone in it, came up with this, as I say, Madison dance, but they couldn't do it properly. So it ended up being the Nutbush, as it were. And the reason that they came up with this dance is because it was meant to be like a physical education thing.
Right. For New South Wales education.
Yeah, for the kids. Yeah. For PE. So what I've got here is I'm going to see if I can play it. I might not be able to without internet. We'll just see how we go. See if it plays, see what happens. Oh, okay, it's going to do that. Okay, that's not going to work.
Buffering.
No, it's not buffering. It's just not. It's not playing. So I will put the playing. I will put the link in. But the interesting thing is, with the legs are similar to Nutbush, and you can sort of see them move and cross, etc. But you can also see they're quite complex compared to the Nutbush. So, which is just like kick a leg out, pull a leg to the side. Whereas these are like crisscross, a bit of sort of flow, etc., etc. So they've just gone, I can't do that. So it ended up being the Nutbush, which I find pretty cool. I wish.
I can't wait to see the original one. Yeah, go on.
Yes, I will. So that's Tina, best legs in the business. She would be over 50 there. She would easily be over 50. And definitely best legs in the business. Unbelievable. So fit all the time. I wonder what her exercise regime was, not just on stage, but and here we have some Nutbush embraces.
Good old Birdsville, just around the corner.
Absolutely.
Another interesting tidbit about Tina Arena is
no pun intended.
No, her 1988 show in Rio de Janeiro drew that's in Brazil, for those playing at home, drew 180,000 people, which remains one of the largest concert audiences for any single performer. So can you imagine that? Almost 200,000 people.
Really?
Yep.
180,000.
The MCG holds what, 110?
Yeah, maybe. And that's people like nearly jumping over the edge to stay on.
Yeah.
So where was this 180,000?
Rio de Janeiro. So I'm not sure which stadium that'll be, but
that's my question. Jesus, what stadium holds 200,000 people?
Yeah, I know. Well, I guess they would have crammed them in a country like Brazil. They wouldn't have cared about OHS and all that stuff.
No, they'll have them under chairs and wherever they can stick it in.
On people's shoulders.
Yeah, definitely.
Maracanã? Is it Maracanã Stadium?
I have. Oh, Mercana?
Yeah, Macarena. What's it called?
Macarena.
Maracanã, I think is the stadium, I reckon, because that's their famous one.
Right, okay.
Record attendance, 199,000. What was that for?
That is crazy.
Jeez.
That's probably for Jimmy Barnes and Tina Turner.
Yeah. So Jimmy would have brought in 40,000.
Yeah, that's right.
And Tina, here I am saying it again. Tina Turner would have been 180. Yes. Yeah.
So I will drop a couple of links in the show notes for this, because there's a couple of nice little links for the Nutbush. You can see that's the whole Dubton Primary School. Dubton is, yes, it is in Melbourne. It's in Dandenong Way. It's probably about 25, 30 clicks from where I live. And as you can see, the whole school is doing the Nutbush, as it were. So, so a bit of fun there. I just wish I could play the vids, but at the moment, until I totally refresh this network, I
thought you were going to say you wish you could show us your moves.
Well, I could. I used to be able to do the Nutbush. I can't remember it now.
I wouldn't have a clue.
But
mind you, I was at our school trivia night that we had on Saturday night, and the quizmaster had done a competition where captains went to the front.
We speak good English on this show.
Oh, we do, and I haven't even had beer tonight. So the quizmaster got the captains up to the front, gave them each piece of paper. On each piece of paper were 4 dancers, but not all the same. And so they then said, okay, now we're doing the Macarena. So the tables that had Macarena all stood up, did the Macarena. Then there was the chicken dance, and then there was the Charlton and a bunch of others. So you'd see people stand up, do their dance while everyone's watching and having a laugh. It was quite funny. It was very well done.
It sounds very good. So that was the quiz night you were talking about on the show a few weeks ago.
Correct. It's finally over. Still got a bit of tidying up to do now that it's over. Tie up loose ends and things like that. But yes, finally it's over. Can relax till next year.
Was it fun? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. 220 people attended. Prizes were given.
Nice.
Food and drinks.
Did you raise money? Or?
Don't know the final figure, but it would probably be 5 figures at this stage. So we'll see.
Nice. That sounds very good. 5 figures. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. And where does the money go?
It's all for the PNC of Intrapilli State High School, where our kids go to. So yes, it's for that. So it's actually going to go to solar-powered water bubblers, because there's not enough water bubblers at the kids' school. So we want that in before summer this year.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. That sounds awesome. That sounds very good, because that's a public school, isn't it?
It is a public school, state school, correct.
So many of them are underfunded, so that's good. That's very, very good. Okay, well, that's your lot, people, tonight. thanks as always, Wency.
The pleasure's always mine, and it's always fun having guests on the show and having our host, you, Keely.
Yes, well, thanks very much, Dan, for having the time tonight. That was brilliant. We'll cut that up a bit. And as usual, I'm sure Dan will send me some of this audio as well. Yeah. But that's your lot, people, tonight. Thanks very much for listening on the pod or viewing on the bod, as it were. We are just struggling through different little internet issues at the moment. But hang in there. It's going to get better. It is going to get better because I'm going to make sure it is. So anyway, it's not for me.
Below.
Yes, right. What Wency said. Blurtstar@gmail.com, Twitter at Blurt News, and Substack. Was it New Blurt.substack.com. And the pod is out on Monday usually, so look out for it in your best or worst podcast app. We will see you next week.
All right. Adios.
See you, Wency.
Ciao.